Monty Obadelis and the Zakiya Muhammad's
and the great Robert X,
and Cool and Jerry's and Robert X's and Fred Hampton Jr.'s, etc., who are trying to do what they can to advance our struggle. You know, the thing about it is that Barack Obama has been used to neutralize our struggle, to demobilize us, okay, to depoliticize us, because, you know, and it appears as much of this stuff comes from National Security Memorandum number 46.
Wait. Say that again. National
Security Memorandum number 46, which deals with the U.S. and Black movement. Basically, the Central Intelligence Agency, along with the National Security Council, came up with various approaches in order to prevent Black people from hooking up with brothers and sisters abroad, from hooking up with global Africans. Okay, yeah, whether in the Caribbean, whether in South Africa, wherever we are, Barbados, Brazil, Guyana, whatever, Chicago, New York, Detroit, etc. Wherever we are, they want to prevent us from hooking up. That was the whole thing about assassinating Dr. King and Malcolm X and many of our Black leaders, and also infiltrating the Nation of Islam, the Republic of New Africa. They attacked that organization, RAM, Revolutionary Action Movement, SNCC Corps, SCLC, NAACP, Herbally. You know, these are the kind of organizations that they attacked, and and the Black Panther Party. They found certain organizations to be more threatening than others. That's the reason why you have certain organizations that's still around, like the NAACP and Herbally, because they found them less threatening.
National Security Council Memorandum 46. The subject, Black Africa and the U.S. Black Movement. Written by Zebra Brzezinski. Zebra Brzezinski, his daughter's on Morning Joe. We're going to get into that a little bit later. The president has directed a comprehensive review relating to current developments in Black Africa from the point of view of their possible impacts of the Black movement in the United States. The review should consider, 1, long-term tendencies of social and political developments to the degree which they are consistent or are contradictory in U.S. interests. 2, the proposal of durable contrast between radical African leaders and leftist leaders in the U.S. Black community. 3, appropriate steps taken inside and outside of the country in order to inhibit pressure by radical African leaders and the organizations of the U.S. Black community for the latter extent of influence on the policy of administration towards Africa. The president has directed the NCS, an empowerment group of Africa, to perform this review, and it should be forwarded by such and such time. This is in 1977. The objective of our policy towards Black Africa is to prevent social evils which can radically change the political situation throughout the area. The success or failure of our policy in the region depends on the solution international, and the internal issues whose importance in the United States is on the increase. U.S. interest in Black Africa. A multiplicity of interests influence the U.S. attitude towards Black Africa. The most important of these interests can be summarized as follows. 1, political. If Black African states assume attitude hostile to the United States national interests or policy towards the white regimes, which is a key element of our relationship with Black states, may be subject by the latter to great pressure for fundamental change. Thus, the West may face real great danger of being deprived of access of enormous raw material resources of Southern Africa, which is vital for our defense needs, as well as losing control over the Cape Sea routes, which is approximately 65% of Middle Eastern oil is supplied to Western Europe. Moreover, such a development will bring about internal difficulties by intensifying the activity of the Black movement in the United States itself. It should also be borne in mind that Black Africa is an integral part of the continent where tribal and regional discord, economic backwards, inadequate infrastructure, drought, famine are constant and features on the scene. In conjunction with the artificial borders imposed by former colonial powers, guerrilla warfare in Indonesia and Rhodesia, and widespread indignation against apartheid in South Africa, the above factors provide communist states with ample opportunities for furthering their aims. This must be necessary to rebound the detriment of U.S. political interests. 2, economics. Black Africa has increasingly become an outlet for U.S. exports and investment. The mineral resources of the area continue to be a great value of normal functioning of the industry of the United States and affiliate allied countries. In 1977, the U.S. directed investment in Black Africa totaled $1.8 billion, and exports of $2.2 billion. New prospects of substantial profits will continue to develop in the countries concerned.
Very important to understand what it is, because Memorandum 46, it is a presidential act that was put in place in order to make sure that there is separation between people of the African demographic, meaning people who would be so-called African Americans, the Africans who came from Africa over to the Americas, and the actual people of Africa, the people who are the continental Africans. So the government document is meant to separate us, and what it says is a very lengthy document. I encourage everyone to go Google Memorandum 46 and read it and fully understand what it is. That way you can understand what you are partaking in this society, especially if you are a melanated individual, especially one who calls themselves such as an African American.
It's an executive order stating that there shall be no unification of anyone of the African diaspora and anyone who is from Africa. So they don't want any unity of any said, what you all call Black people at all. So any form of unification of that, you are subject to be put on a radar because you are violating one of their executive orders. And that is just, that's just real right there. Look up Memorandum 46. It was established in I believe it was so long ago last time I read it. It was I believe it was somewhere in March of 1976-ish, around then, executive order. So that came straight from the president. No unification of anyone of the African diaspora or any African melanated people. It's not supposed to happen.
It's pretty much any government organization or any organization that has the capacity to run with the government's okay, like such as 501c3s, nonprofit organizations. These institutions are not allowed to promote any African unity of any sorts from the demographic or the continental or even them coming together, no benefit. So that means all of these organizations in place with 501c3s included, that means churches, lodges, unfortunately, I'm just keeping it 100, a lot of these schools, government buildings, none of them are allowed to promote any African unity. So are you being programmed or tied into some agent BS and you subconsciously don't know because you aren't aware of what these people are working at? Because you didn't get it from me.
Black Africa and the U.S. Black Movement. Apart from the aforementioned factors averse from the U.S. strategic interests, the national liberation movement of Black Africa can act as a catalyst with far-reaching effects on the American Black community by stimulating organizational consolidation and inducing radical actions. Such a result will be likely as Zaire, the way they went of Angola and Mozambique. The occurrence of such events in 1967 and 68 would do grievous harm to U.S. proceeds, especially in the view of concern of the present administration with human rights issues. Moreover, the administration will have to take specific steps to stabilize the situation. Such steps might be misunderstood both inside and outside the United States. In order to prevent such a trend and protect U.S. natural interests, it would appear essential to elaborate on carrying out effective countermeasures. 1. The possibilities of joint action by U.S. Black and African nationalist movement. And elaborating U.S. policy towards Black Africa, due weight must be given to the fact that there are 25 million African American blacks whose roots in Africa are consciously or subconsciously sympathize with African nationalism. The living conditions of the black population also should be taken into account. Immense advances in the field are accompanied by long-lasting high rates of unemployment, especially among the youth and the poverty, and a dissatisfaction of government social welfare standards. These factors taken together may provide a basis for the joint action of a concrete nature by the African nationalist movement and the U.S. black community. Basically, actions taken in the form of demonstrations and public protests, but the likelihood of violence cannot be excluded. There will also be attempts to coordinate their political activity both locally and on the international organizations. Inside the United States, these actions could include protests, demonstrations against our policy towards South Africa, accompanied by a demand of boycotting corporations, banks, which maintain links with that country, establishing a permanent black lobby in Congress, including activists, leftist radical groups, and black legislators, the reemergence of Pan-African ideas, the reassumption of protest march, recalling the days of Martin Luther King, renewal of extremist and national ideas, establishing an African republic on American soil. Finally, leftist and radical elements in the black community could resume extreme actions in the style of the defunct Black Panther Party.
You know, it's kind of ironic that these so-called Israelites and these so-called Aborigines don't know anything about the Memorandum-46, which was a government document which outlines how to keep the African descent people in America from the continental Africans politically and economically. They created an agenda. They created a document. They created an executive order to separate the so-called Negroes, the African descent people in America, from the continental Africans on the continent. And now you have these Israelites and Aborigines who are going crazy, spreading the agenda that these particular Europeans want them to push, to create separate, not just division, but so that the Europeans can loot and, metaphorically speaking, rape and molest the lands of Africa. For any person who says, oh, them Africans, they don't even want to claim us, they are following the Memo 46. Any continental African who think that a African descent person in America don't want you over there, or they don't want to proclaim you, they follow by the Memo 46 as well. You have to understand that this is a divide and conquer tactic that has been working very well, just as well as the Willie Lynch letter.
Why are we all of a sudden having crisis in identity? At the very moment, we also talked about what? Afrocentrism and African what? Centeredness. So right at this moment, when we are beginning to coalesce and to develop a concept of African identity and Afrocentrism, we are all now suddenly in a what? Identity crisis. Is the identity crisis really there, or is what going on an attempt to do what? Create an identity crisis? Because these people are well aware of what a full and wholesome identity will do to them. And they are aware that an African-centered identity represents the end of white power and of white oppression.